Are
See,
we good?
we are rolling.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. What's new in clean energy for the first week of June in 2020? I'm Eric Planey,
Hi, I'm Lucas Finko.
and we are the Pirates of Clean Energy, the title that I love and Lucas hates. And we're here
That's
to talk
true.
about and we're here to be talking about all things in clean energy, to give an overview of some recent articles, to discuss them, and to see where trends are going, and to see if we can just add a little bit more perspective to everyone's busy life in terms of analyzing what is happening in the world of clean tech. So with that, we have several stories that we want to go over. And every week, Lucas and I pick several, and we want to discuss them. And when we discuss them, feel free to add comments after you see this, and we're happy to follow up with you when we can.
So there were a couple of things I was very excited about this week, Eric.
Let me,
This is probably number one.
number one.
Yeah, so GM's battery chief says they think they're going to have a 600-mile EV in the near future that will last 1,000,000 miles. This I was very, very happy about. I know you're more pro EV than I am, so maybe you want to comment on this too.
Well, first off, I'm really pro because my hometown in Ohio, General Motors last year shut the assembly plant, Lordstown, but they lived up to their promise, and they're currently building a gigafactory in conjunction with LG. That is probably going to be the place where they're building that 600-mile battery. So from an economic standpoint, I'm very happy that GM is creating jobs in the Rust Belt where Lucas and I both grew up. I think it's really cool. I think GM has made some great strides. I don't think the 1,000,000-mile battery is actually that far off because I suspect that Tesla is already on their way there. But I have to look at evidence to see how far a Tesla battery has gone on, say, the most expensive Model S.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, is this like a huge breakthrough, or is this just business as usual, 1,000,000-mile battery? I don't know. It's going to take me forever to find out on my EV.
So I think it's really going to come down to the range aspect. 600 miles is phenomenal because everyone still has range anxiety. I think it's becoming less and less. I think the breakthrough has really started happening with two models over the last couple of years, or three actually. The next generation Nissan Leaf, I think, is a 200-mile battery. The Chevy Bolt, which is the successor to the Volt, is roughly 230 in its first iteration. And I heard now the new generation, same vehicle, new battery, is going to be well above 250.
Really?
And then kind of an understated car that I think is fantastic is the electric version of the Hyundai Kona miniature SUV. And that also has, I think, stated 230 range, but is done quite better in real life testing. So when we start getting to 400 miles, then you start replicating a full tank of gasoline for most cars. And I think that is really the point of no return where EVs will eventually dominate. So I think that's fantastic news. And if
Yeah.
GM is on its way to 600 miles, then we're on our way to a new paradigm in vehicle technology.
Yeah.
And last thing I'd say is the OEMs, of course, are bringing up their green credentials and doing this, but it comes down to something else as well. The electric vehicle has many fewer and fewer parts that actually move relative to conventional gasoline. The cost of building an electric vehicle is going to be substantially lower once all the technology and synergies come into place. And I think that's something that really motivates the OEMs right now as they look at labor issues, cost issues, et cetera. Margins are only compressing. EVs are in for more than just altruistic reasons.
There's your Ohio battery facility. It's right there. Look at that.
That means the Ohio battery facility next to, and by the way, we should also mention, and I have it here, and this is just pure coincidence, but the old General Motors factory was actually sold to an electric truck startup that is now called Lordstown Motors. And they're starting to get orders in the 200s, 300s, 900s. And I think they could be a 20,000 production facility in 2021.
Wow.
So let's look for that.
That would be cool. Yeah, I've seen that. That's very exciting. So here's another storage project. This follows up from last week. Why Electric is still announcing new storage projects. Again, the big deal here is, for me at least, is it's a longer duration battery. This one not quite so much. This looks like a 3-hour battery to me. Also very exciting. This will ensure that the AES coal plant, the last remaining coal-fired generation in Hawaii, will end operations September 22. So that's a very exciting milestone for Hawaii. Hats off to Hawaii. Congratulations. No more coal in Hawaii.
Hawaii also, they have coal, but they're also burning a lot of fuel oil, like dirty fuel oil, right? So I suspect that a lot of that generation is still in place. Coal's going away, which is fantastic,
right.
But it's not a green set of islands just quite yet.
Correct. Coal's going away, but not all fossil fuels. Correct.
Correct.
I did want to bring this up too. Also, it was the first time in 130 years. I believe this is last year. Yeah, 2019, that renewable energy output exceeded that of coal, also for the entire United States. Yes.
We should, by the way, you know what? We actually need to toast. We should have like a little bell, and we should be toast. Whenever something like this happens, we ring the bell.
We should.
All right.
Work on it. All right, we're working on it. I had to throw in New Jersey here because it happens to be where I live. They announced some new EV infrastructure targets. They're very interested in giving private capital, so public-private partnerships, wherever possible to expand the investment. It's very exciting to see in my home state. This has always been a big chicken and egg for me, right? The utilities say, hey, when there's EVs, we'll build EV chargers. And the auto companies say, hey, when there's EV chargers, we'll build EVs.
Exactly.
And nobody's going to break this cycle, right? Somebody's got to stick their neck out and put EV chargers all over. So the auto industry says, okay, fine. There's no range anxiety now. We'll make them.
Well, two things on that. One is, whenever you do a story about New Jersey, you should do it in your best Bruce Springsteen voice. Just do a grumbly. And then secondly, this has been the big conundrum, and unfortunately, we really had a wasted opportunity because the federal government and many state governments took so much money in from the VW emission scandal as part of the settlement. That money should have been used to create a true EV infrastructure that was cohesive and made sense.
I hear you.
And to this point, to this day, municipalities are, God bless them, are taking it upon themselves to build out EV charging infrastructure. But when it's uncoordinated, dots on the map don't look good when you're trying to go from Ohio to Colorado, for example.
Well, right.
So this is a great step. Happy about New Jersey. New Jersey and New York and Connecticut have great regional cooperation, so hopefully it will not be done in a vacuum.
So all valid points, not arguing. I also noticed New Jersey recently approved their commercial remote net metering pilot project. Very excited about. I'm looking to join that. So if somebody's watching, and just tell us in the comments, please, where we need to go to sign up for that. I would very much like to sign up for remote net metering with some commercial solar.
So how does that work? Tell me how the net metering actually works.
Well, this is remote net metering. So the beauty part is you can have solar panels somewhere else. I signed up for remote net metering, so it's remote solar panels. I buy power from, or I lay claim to power from the large solar panel installation somewhere else, and I use it to offset my electricity bill from my residence.
So what's the difference between that and community solar?
It's essentially the same thing, right? Community solar just seems vague to me.
I love community solar. We'll be talking about community solar in about 5 minutes.
Well, is community solar like singing around and singing Kumbaya about solar? I mean, I don't know what it means, but anyhow.
Oh, well, we'll talk about that then.
I wanted to throw this one in here. Also, UK's largest solar project was approved. And they're doing it without government subsidies. I thought this was really interesting. Huge 350 megawatts. Wow, that's huge. It's about 10 times bigger than a lot of the solar projects I see.
Those are tool sheds. Those aren't solar panels.
Yeah, I don't know. That's Kent, I guess. That's what Kent looks like currently.
Wow, I thought it'd be bigger.
So very interesting to see that happening. And then I threw one in from just yesterday. The FERC finally approved the Champlain Hudson Power Express. At least they approved their authority to sell transmission rights at negotiated rates I'm not sure if this is one of the things that was holding it up. For those that don't know, Hydro-Quebec has too much hydropower, and they're trying to get it down to New York City, and there's not enough transmission lines, so they're running their own transmission line. It's going to be huge. It's going to be like a gigawatt, and they want to run it down the bed of Lake Champlain, and then move it over to the Hudson River and run it down the on the bottom of the Hudson River, literally.
It's gonna go right past my house.
Yeah, right past your house, right there.
I can tap into that, maybe get some free electricity.
I think they're going to go straight to New York City because the prices are better, and so
Right.
that's what I think this is all about. They wanted negotiated rates. They didn't want regulated rates.
Will this accelerate the closure of Indian Point nuclear power plant?
I don't know if this is a consideration of that. I mean, we'd have to look at the NISO documents. I just don't know.
Okay.
It will definitely alleviate cost, I would say, in New York City.
All right. I love it. All right. So.
Okay, you're up.
I think that's a great story. Am I up?
Yeah.
So this is one I like. This is a private equity firm that I think is very interesting, Energy Impact Partners, mainly because they're LPs, which are the limited partners, the firms that actually invest to create the fund, are mainly the largest utilities, not just in the United States, but actually some of them globally. So effectively, this is all these utilities over the years were being asked to be better and smarter about implementing new technologies into their grid, but utilities are traditionally a bit stodgy, so they never knew how to do it. So they decided to pool their money and create a fund of technologists and entrepreneurs to actually develop those so they can be used throughout the utility industry. So one thing that I liked is, as you can see, they have decided to invest in a community solar project, which I'm happy to say that I recently signed up for Nexamp Energy's community solar project here in the Hudson Valley. And effectively, it's a simpler, more easier solution than distributed, where you're putting solar on your own rooftop and then you have to worry about the technology, implementation, selling into the grid, etc. This is, you get to actually buy a space, you're effectively buying your own solar panels and a small solar farm, and it's going to be used as an offset against your current electricity bill. So the local utility signs up for it in terms of allowing this to take place. So you should get a net discount over the course of the year on your utility bill, and your power generation is going to be greener than it was from traditional fossil sources. I'm a fan of it. I think it works more effectively than distributed. I think distributed, especially in urban areas, may not just logistically be the great solution. So I think community solar is fantastic. It raises awareness, and I'm happy that this 100 megawatt portfolio of projects has a solid investor in Energy Impact Partners.
Yeah, that sounds great. I'm totally agree with everything you just said,
And I think it dovetails very similar to your net metering proposition in New Jersey. So I like the fact we're coming up with simple, efficient solutions that can touch the average consumer, because as we have seen time and time again, the average consumer now believes in climate change is for real and that they have to do something about it themselves in their daily lives. So the more easier solutions, the more visible solutions, the better it is for everyone.
And this makes it super easy because you don't have to put anything on your roof. You don't have to get any permits. You don't have to drill a hole in your roof. You just sign up for this, and then you get solar power, and it nets out your bill.
Exactly. So on to the next one.
All right.
By the way, I think we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, we're doing better.
This is chemistry. This one I gotta admit, I have to. Speaking of chemistry, boom. California Energy Commission funds 2 lithium recovery projects in the Salton Sea region. I don't know where the Salton Sea region is. It reminds me of the Dire Straits song "Sultans of Swing," which was always a great song. But anyways, I don't know where that is. But lithium obviously is an incredibly precious metal, so having domestic capabilities to mine it and a resource for it, I think is fantastic. I think we have to worry about lithium and cobalt because there are other international players who are controlling the supply chain for them. Lithium, I think, and cobalt also is prevalent not only in Asia but also in South America. And right now, I don't think our country is in the best of terms with many South American countries. So therefore, we have to be just a little bit smarter about our sources. So hats off to California about this. Now, let's hope that their mining process is not ecologically inefficient, because some of the issues we have right now, everyone talks about how solar is so prevalent because the solar panels are coming from China. we know that China's environmental standards are not the best. So we don't know the manufacturing process of those solar panels, how strong they are. So this is something we have to watch here. Thankfully, in California, they have great regulatory system, and they have great advocates and consumers and citizens who are going to be watching this like a hawk to make sure it's done in the most environmentally friendly way.
Right. I mean, I think you've heard me rant in the past about wind energy and rare earth minerals used for the magnets. I mean, that's a disastrous mining industry, ecologically, in my opinion. So, yeah, this
Yeah,
is great.
like, first off, one of the things is as we get up to scale, we have to be not worried, but we really have to focus on recycling of these elements. We're going to have wind farms that are going to be coming offline in about 5-7 years because their useful life is over.
Right.
So let's make sure they don't end up in a scrap heap without it being completely recycled. And I think
Agreed.
those are the things we need to focus on. Batteries, especially. I think we're doing a good job coming up with battery recycling, but not good enough yet.
Well, just don't forget solar panels and those gallium arsenic solar panels, which they have no disposal plan for. I mean, come on, guys. Let's get moving on.
We'd love to hear from people commenting if they know about the future of the solar panel, if they're going to be made more environmentally friendly with less materials, less usage, less chemicals involved in the manufacturing process. Any insight about that, we'd be happy to hear your comments.
That'd be great. Yeah.
All right, next one.
Next.
So this article is actually from a few weeks ago because the article that came out yesterday, is beyond the paywall. We don't have it. But in a first, well, we actually just talked about it. Renewable energy is poised to eclipse coal in the United States.
Yeah.
So there you go. So great minds thought alike. I went back a couple weeks. Lucas found the current story. And this is tremendous. There was a day last year, I believe, last summer, where the whole country of Germany was 100% renewable for a couple hours.
Yeah, I saw that.
They had high winds in the north, and they had strong sun in the south. And so between that, the solar and the wind in Germany for several hours was 100% renewable.
Awesome.
And that's incredible given the fact that Germany turned off a lot of their nuclear post-Fukushima and actually reverted back to using more coal plants.
Correct. That's correct. And Germany went the other way. Right?
No, I'm saying Germany, Germany went backwards.
Yeah.
Because
Japan went backwards.
Ironically, in the early part of this decade, or in the early part of the 2010s, the U.S. did not sign the Paris Accord. Almost all European countries did. However, because they turned off their nuclear and went back to coal, their carbon emissions went up. Whereas because of the market price of the gas, coal was getting turned off in the United States and being replaced by natural gas, which actually has lower emissions, at least at CO2. Obviously, we can talk about methane emissions, but we actually were lowering our carbon emissions as a result of market forces on gas.
Yeah. I had heard that Germany went all in on solar, and it was a disaster. So we can look into that.
Interesting. It's probably a little too early, right? So solar technology probably wasn't where it's supposed to be.
And so they did end up going back. Here we go. Natural gas still supplies 38% of the nation's power and expected to hold steady.
Right. As somebody who saw a lot of job creation in the Rust Belt due to the shale industry, I'm probably a little bit more pro-shale than some of our viewers. But I have to say, I look at shale technology as a bridge technology. I look at it taking gas out, which on a net basis is for the better. And if you can hold carbon emissions steady, methane emissions in natural gas production, in fact, from the upstream to the midstream, if you can keep methane emissions down and have greater methane capture, then it's certainly a more greener prospect than using coal. And it is the bridge to solar and wind and biomass and other things we need to talk about.
Yeah, and we talked about natural gas having half the carbon emissions as coal per megawatt hour. So, yeah, it's a good deal in the short term. Right.
Congratulations to Elon Musk for doing something that I think was the only good news that the United States really had last week after from a cultural, political, and social aspect, we had a horrible week in this country. And let's not forget a lot of suffering that's taking place, and we have to be serious about that. But the one bright star that took place was Elon Musk and the SpaceX agency delivering for the first time since the end of the space shuttle era 2 astronauts to the International Space Station from American soil, and for the first time using it on a private spacecraft, the SpaceX Dragon. So we saw an article here that we thought would be funny, especially given it's Elon Musk and his SpaceX capsule. But can we ever send somebody out of Earth's orbit using pure renewable energy? And the question is, the answer is, it could be possible by the way we create hydrogen. It could be considered renewable if it comes from splitting water molecules. Uh, being more efficient, creating lighter vehicles. The space shuttle was always a great experiment that was tremendous, but was incredibly heavy, incredibly inefficient, and used a lot of power. And in the future, we're just not going to be as so reliable on inefficiencies. And I'm bullshitting right here. Long story short, I think we can get
Right.
there. I think we can actually create greener sources of energy to get us where we need to go, including outside the Earth's atmosphere.
This is great. Look at this. You need this much kilos of liquid oxygen, and you need this many kilos of liquid hydrogen, and there's the gigawatt hours you need. And it's just an equation. From there, you just got to go produce it.
I'm a bigger guy, so you should probably round up a couple of those digits. You're going to try to take me to orbit?
I don't think you qualify. I don't know.
I think that'd be the great experiment, right? How much payload can they get up? Well, they just probably put 2 cosmonauts off to the side and they take 1 big American. It's fine.
Come on, you pass out from the G's. Come on, they pull like 8 G's, no?
Pull more than 8 Gs, I think, don't they? They
No,
pull
you
like
kind of have to squeeze your cheeks, with 8 G's.
a little muscle here. Take it. Anyways, it does lead to another story, which is right now Airbus and Boeing and others are actually looking at electric aircraft. And while I don't see 400 passenger aircraft anytime soon being powered by batteries, I think you're going to start seeing private aviation have electric aircraft out there. And again, the more we start tackling these issues, the more we come up with lighter batteries, potentially solid state batteries, which are a little safer, although I don't know about their weight. We can even move the needle on aviation. And with regards to aviation, there's a great organization called CAAFI, CAAFI, and it's a Center for Advanced Aviation Fuels Initiative, founded by all the airlines, and effectively with CAAFI, it's CAAFI.org. What CAAFI does is working to implement more biofuels into aviation fuels. So one of the catalysts, obviously, has been Delta Airlines, Virgin Atlantic. These are people who really are taking this seriously. So you're going to see more alternative biofuels in the mix for aviation fuel. So it will be lowering the carbon footprint. And that's something we can all be proud about.
Yeah, I think I saw a story about a test flight for an electric airplane, passenger airplane. It was smaller, but the range was 100 miles. So I didn't.
It was Airbus, right? I want to say an electric aircraft crossed the English Channel, and that was a record, of course.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
The English Channel is only like 30 miles, I think, so it's actually not that long, not that wide. But nonetheless, it was a great achievement.
The let's see, news.
There you go. So
Where's the latest news? Wired. Electric aircraft. Latest news. That sounds like what I want. There you go.
So, look at that.
Look at that.
They're all kind of ugly, but that's okay.
Well, they'll get there. Well, my thing is, here's what I want to do. I want to put solar panels on the plane, and I want to take off with less charge than I need to get to my destination, because it's always sunny above a certain height, right? Above 30,000 feet. It's like almost always sunny. So you can guarantee the sun's going to be there. So you take off with less energy than you need, and you charge, and you get the energy directly from the sun. And while you're in flight, I think that'd be great.
Well, I actually think that didn't NASA or somebody have an experimental aircraft that actually stayed in the air for almost a year?
Right.
Super lightweight solar powered glider aircraft.
Right.
And again,
better.
Maybe we won't. Who knows? But
why don't we have that yet? I don't understand.
Well, it's super light, right? It could take it could take a family of fleas and a cockroach from Phoenix to Las Vegas, and that's about it.
Okay.
I think we did a good job tonight. So with that, please, in the comment box, don't insult us too much. You can insult us lightly. We're okay with some insults, but not all insults. You can make fun of Lucas's background. But we just want to hear from you and what you think and what you'd like to see in our show going forward. We just want to update people about the world of clean tech energy. We want to bring it so people can understand what's going on and they can feel good that even with government policies, sometimes at the federal level not being as progressive as we like, we're actually seeing progress, and that progress is coming from states, municipalities, and the will of the people.
Yeah, if you have, and I'll second that. If you have any ideas or feedback or anything to add, please add it in the comments. We're very interested to hear your feedback, and also if you're interested to hear more episodes from us, we'd like to do this once a week, so let us know.
That's fantastic. It's been a pleasure. Please write us, and we look forward to talking to you next week on the same Bat channel.
Thank you guys, and adios.